Sarah! Oh my God, Sarah, I thought you had!
I know. But the past 9 years have been hell for me too.
She was listed KIA for 9 years until security cameras caught this. Master Sergeant Lisa Chen stood at Captain Sarah Phoenix Mitchell's memorial, clutching a 9-year-old envelope she'd never opened. When an F-15EX burst from a sealed hangar with the unmistakable flight signature of a pilot long-listed KIA, the base's cameras captured the moment everyone realized their lost days had returned from the dead, and she brought dangerous secrets with her. The Nevada sun beat down mercilessly on Desert Storm Air Base as Master Sergeant Lisa Chen stood before the memorial wall, her weathered hands trembling around a sealed envelope marked, "For Lisa, open only if I don't come back." 9 years had passed since Captain Sarah Phoenix Mitchell vanished during a classified reconnaissance mission, but Lisa had never found the courage to break that seal. She promised she'd come back, Lisa thought, remembering their last conversation in the crew quarters. Sarah had been her best friend since flight school, the sister she'd never had, and the only person who understood why Lisa had chosen ground crew over pilot training after losing her father in a crash. "Every year you stand here with that envelope," said Chief Master Sergeant Rodriguez, approaching with the gentle concern of someone who'd watched Lisa grieve for nearly a decade. "Maybe it's time to let her go." Lisa shook her head, her eyes fixed on Sarah's name etched in black granite. "She said she'd signal me if she was in trouble. I'm still waiting for that signal." The memorial service was smaller this year. Pilots transferred, retired, or simply moved on from mourning someone who'd been gone longer than some of them had been in the service. But Lisa remained along with a handful of Sarah's original squadron who remembered her legendary flying skills and infectious laugh. "We used to plan our futures together," Lisa remembered. "She was going to make general, and I was going to be her crew chief all the way to the top. Instead, I've spent 9 years maintaining other people's aircraft and wondering what happened to my best friend." As the chaplain began the service, Lisa felt the familiar weight of survivor's guilt settling on her shoulders. She'd been scheduled to deploy with Sarah on that final mission, but a last-minute maintenance issue had kept her grounded. Sometimes she wondered if things would have been different if she'd been there. Captain Mitchell exemplified the Air Force core values, the chaplain was saying. "Integrity first, service before self-excellence in all we do." Lisa closed her eyes, remembering Sarah's voice. "Promise me something, Lisa. If something happens to me, don't let them bury the truth with my body." What truth, Lisa had asked, but Sarah had just smiled and handed her the envelope. Now 9 years later, Lisa still didn't know what Sarah had meant, but she was about to find out in the most dramatic way possible. The base's power grid flickered, once then died, completely plunging the memorial service into an eerie silence, broken only by the distant wail of emergency sirens. The power outage lasted exactly 97 seconds, long enough for every electronic system on Desert Storm Air Base to go dark, but not long enough for backup generators to fully engage. In that brief window of technological blindness, something impossible happened. The shriek of a jet engine cut through the desert air as an F-15EX Eagle II rolled out of Hangar 17, a facility that had been sealed and mothballed since Sarah's disappearance. Lisa felt her heart stop as she recognized the aircraft's tail number, 91030, Sarah's personal bird that had been grounded for maintenance on the day of her final mission. "That's impossible," Lisa thought, watching the fighter taxi toward the runway with movements so fluid and precise that they could only belong to one pilot. That hangar has been locked for 9 years. The memorial crowd scattered as the F-15EX performed a vertical takeoff that defied physics, climbing straight up before executing a perfect snap roll and diving toward the base in a low-altitude pass that made everyone duck for cover. It was a signature Phoenix maneuver, a display of aerial artistry that Sarah had perfected and no other pilot had ever successfully replicated. All aircraft identify yourself immediately. The control tower broadcast on emergency frequencies, but the mysterious pilot maintained radio silence. Lisa's hands shook as she watched the fighter perform a series of maneuvers that were unmistakably Sarah's. The way she banked into turns, the precise timing of her rolls. The aggressive confidence that had made her legendary among Air Force pilots. It can't be her, Lisa told herself. She's been dead for 9 years. This is someone playing a sick joke. But as the F-15EX made its final pass over the memorial service, the pilot performed a 2-finger salute visible through the cockpit canopy, the same gesture Sarah had used to say goodbye on her last day. Security teams swarmed Hangar 17 as base investigators tried to understand how a sealed aircraft had suddenly become operational. The hangar's electronic locks showed no signs of tampering, and the maintenance logs indicated that 910304 hadn't been touched since the day after Sarah's disappearance. Lisa followed the investigators, her mind reeling with possibilities that ranged from the supernatural to the conspiratorial. The envelope in her pocket seemed to burn with significance as she watched technicians examine the hangar's security systems. "Ma'am," said Airman First Class Thompson, the base's youngest security specialist. "You're not going to believe this, but the security cameras show the hangar was empty at 1100 hours. At 11:15, the F-15EX was just there, like it materialized out of thin air." Lisa studied the footage on Thompson's tablet, her breath catching as she saw a figure in a flight suit moving around the aircraft with the efficient motions of someone performing a pre-flight inspection. The pilot's face was hidden by a helmet and visor, but something about their posture was achingly familiar. That's how Sarah moved, Lisa realized. The way she checked the control surfaces, the pattern she followed around the aircraft. I watched her do it 1,000 times. "There's something else," Thompson continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The aircraft's transponder broadcast a code during the flyover Vector 11. That's not in any of our databases." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine as she remembered Sarah's final words. "If something happens to me, don't let them bury the truth." Had Sarah been trying to warn her about something called Vector 11? The envelope, she thought. Maybe the answers are in the envelope. But as Lisa reached for the sealed letter that had haunted her for 9 years, her secure phone buzzed with an encrypted message from an unknown sender. "Midnight. Old communications bunker. Come alone. The truth is bigger than you think. P for Phoenix." Lisa realized her hands trembling as she stared at the message. "Sarah's alive, and she's been trying to contact me." The abandoned communications bunker sat on the edge of the base like a relic from the Cold War, its concrete walls scarred by decades of desert storms and neglect. Lisa approached the structure with her heart hammering against her ribs, the sealed envelope clutched in one hand and her service pistol in the other. This could be a trap, she thought. Someone could be using Sarah's memory to lure me out here. But as she stepped into the bunker's shadowy interior, a familiar voice emerged from the darkness. "You can put the gun away, Lisa. It's really me." Sarah Mitchell stepped into the pale moonlight, filtering through a broken window, and Lisa felt 9 years of grief and guilt collapse into a single moment of overwhelming relief. Sarah was older, thinner, with new scars on her face and a hardness in her eyes that hadn't been there before, but she was unmistakably alive. "Sarah," Lisa whispered, her voice breaking. "Where have you been? Do you have any idea what these 9 years have been like? I thought you were dead. I blame myself for not being on that mission with you." Sarah's expression softened as she saw the pain in her friend's eyes. "I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm so sorry. But I couldn't contact. You couldn't contact anyone. What I discovered was too dangerous, and the people involved would have killed you just for knowing I was alive." Lisa felt anger mixing with relief as she processed Sarah's words. "What people? What did you discover? And what the hell is Vector 11? Sarah gestured for Lisa to sit on an old equipment crate, then began pacing the small space like a caged animal. Vector 11 is a black operations program that officially doesn't exist. When I disappeared 9 years ago, I wasn't captured or killed, I was recruited. The Air Force needed someone to go deep undercover and investigate a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of the military-industrial complex. A conspiracy, Lisa thought. That's what she was trying to warn me about. The Meridian Defense Group has been systematically stealing classified military technology and selling it to foreign buyers, Sarah continued. They've got people inside the Pentagon, inside defense contractors, inside our own command structure. The electronic attack on the base today, that was a demonstration for potential clients, a way to show them how easily they could cripple our defenses. Lisa felt sick as the implications sank in. How long has this been going on? At least 15 years, maybe longer. They've been using Vector 11 as a cover, claiming that missing personnel and equipment were part of classified operations when they were actually being sold to the highest bidder. Sarah pulled out an encrypted tablet and showed Lisa a series of files that made her blood run cold. Financial records showing millions of dollars in illegal transaction surveillance footage of secret meetings between high-ranking officers and foreign agents, and shipping manifests for weapons that were supposed to have been destroyed. "This is everything I've gathered over the past 9 years," Sarah said. "Names, dates, bank accounts, communication intercepts. It's enough to bring down the entire network, but I needed someone on the inside to help me expose it." Lisa stared at the evidence, understanding why Sarah had chosen to disappear rather than trust the normal chain of command. Why me? Why now? Because they're about to move the operation overseas beyond our reach. And because you're the only person I trust completely. Sarah's voice carried the weight of 9 years of isolation and danger. "I need you to get this information to the Office of Special Investigations, but you have to be careful. Some of the people involved are in positions to destroy evidence and eliminate witnesses." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders as she realized that her friend had spent 9 years of her life gathering this intelligence. "What about you? Are you coming back?" Sarah shook her head, her expression sad but determined. "I can't. There are other operations, other conspiracies that need to be investigated. Vector 11 isn't just about Meridian, it's about protecting the country from threats that are too dangerous to handle through normal channels." She's choosing to stay dead, Lisa realized. She's giving up her life, her identity, everything to protect the country. "Sarah, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep sacrificing yourself for missions that no one will ever acknowledge." "Someone has to," Sarah replied simply. "And I'm good at it. But I need to know that you'll finish what I started here. Will you do that for me?" Lisa looked at her best friend, a woman who'd been officially dead for 9 years, but had never stopped serving her country, and felt a surge of pride mixed with heartbreak. "I'll do it," she said, "but promise me something. When this is over, when Meridian is brought down, you'll consider coming home." Sarah smiled for the first time since their reunion, and for a moment she looked like the young pilot Lisa remembered from flight school. "I promise I'll consider it," she said. "But first we have work to do." Lisa spent the night decrypting Sarah's files, her hands shaking as she uncovered the scope of the conspiracy. By dawn, she'd compiled enough evidence to destroy dozens of careers and send people to prison for life. But as she prepared to contact the Office of Special Investigations, her world began to unravel. Her apartment was being watched. Black SUVs with tinted windows had appeared overnight, and Lisa could see surveillance teams positioned across the street. Her phone was tapped. Her emails were being monitored, and she realized that someone had discovered her meeting with Sarah. "They know," she thought, feeling panic rise in her chest. "Somehow they know what I'm carrying." The first attempt on her life came as she drove to work. A truck ran a red light and nearly T-boned her car, missing by inches, only because Lisa's military training had taught her to always expect the unexpected. The second attempt was more subtle, a gas leak in her apartment that would have killed her if she hadn't noticed the smell and evacuated immediately. "They're trying to make it look like accidents," Lisa realized. "They can't afford to have me die in an obviously suspicious way." But the psychological warfare was even more devastating than the physical threats. Lisa's commanding officer called her in for a meeting and informed her that she was being investigated for security violations. Her security clearance was suspended, her access to classified areas was revoked, and she was placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. "I'm sorry, Lisa," Colonel Martinez said, his expression genuinely sympathetic. "I know this seems unfair, but there are allegations that you've been in contact with unauthorized personnel and may have compromised classified information." Lisa felt the walls closing in around her as she realized how powerful the conspiracy really was. They had people in positions to destroy her career, her reputation and her life, with a few keystrokes, and some fabricated evidence. The message came through a secure channel that Lisa thought was safe. "They're closing in. Meet me at the old radar station. We need to move the operation tonight. P." Lisa knew it was probably a trap, but she also knew that Sarah was running out of time. If the conspiracy was moving overseas, this might be their last chance to expose the truth. The abandoned radar station sat on a hill overlooking the base, its massive dish pointing uselessly at the sky like a monument to obsolete technology. Lisa approached the structure with every sense on high alert, her service pistol drawn and ready. But instead of Sarah, she found Colonel Harrison, a man she'd known and respected for years, now pointing a rifle at her chest. "I'm sorry it came to this, Lisa." Harrison said, his voice heavy with what might have been genuine regret. "You're a good soldier, but you've gotten involved in something that's bigger than you understand. The conspiracy." Lisa said, her mind racing as she tried to find a way out of the situation. "You're part of it." "I'm part of something that keeps this country safe," Harrison replied. "Vector 11 isn't what your friend told you. It's a program designed to eliminate threats that the normal system can't handle. Sometimes that means selling outdated technology to foreign buyers so we can track their capabilities. Sometimes it means sacrificing a few people for the greater good." Lisa felt sick as she realized that Sarah might have been wrong about the conspiracy, or that the truth was even more complex than either of them had imagined. Sarah's intelligence was accurate, Harrison continued, but incomplete. "Yes, we've been selling technology. Yes, we've been working with foreign buyers. But it's all part of a larger operation designed to protect American interests." He's lying, Lisa thought. Or he's been lied to. Either way, people are dying, and that's not acceptable. "Where is she?" Lisa demanded. "Where's Sarah?" Harrison's expression hardened. "Captain Mitchell is no longer your concern. She's been reassigned to a permanent Vector 11 operation. As far as the world is concerned, she's still dead." Lisa felt rage building in her chest as she realized that her best friend had been betrayed by the very people she'd been trying to protect. "You can join her," Harrison continued, "or you can die here. Your choice." But before Lisa could respond, the sound of helicopter rotors filled the air, and she realized that Sarah had set a trap of her own. The helicopter that descended toward the radar station wasn't military. It was a civilian aircraft with federal markings, and Lisa could see armed agents rappelling down ropes with the efficiency of a SWAT team. Sarah's voice crackled over a loudspeaker as the aircraft circled the station. "Colonel Harrison, this is Captain Mitchell. You are surrounded by federal agents and Office of Special Investigations personnel. Drop your weapon and surrender immediately." Harrison's face went pale as he realized that his trap had become a trap for him. "This is impossible. Mitchell is dead." Vector 11 confirmed her termination. "Vector 11 lied to you just like they've been lying to everyone else," Sarah's voice replied. "The real Vector 11 program has been investigating the conspiracy you're part of. Every transaction, every meeting, every illegal sale, we have it all documented." Lisa watched as federal agents surrounded the radar station, their weapons trained on Harrison and the other conspirators who had been hiding in the shadows. The colonel's confident demeanor crumbled as he realized that he'd been outmaneuvered by a pilot who was supposed to be dead. "You don't understand," Harrison said desperately. "Everything we did was authorized. We were protecting national security. By selling classified drone technology to foreign buyers," Sarah's voice carried a note of disgust. "By compromising our defensive systems for profit, that's not national security, that's treason." As Harrison and his associates were taken into custody, Sarah finally emerged from the helicopter, her flight suit, bearing the insignia of a program that Lisa had never seen before. She looked older and more tired than she had the night before, but there was a satisfaction in her eyes that spoke of a mission finally completed. 9 years, Lisa said as she embraced her friend. 9 years of thinking you were dead, and you were working for the government the entire time. "Not the government, you know," Sarah replied. "The real Vector 11 program operates outside normal channels, investigating threats that are too sensitive for conventional law enforcement. When I discovered the Meridian conspiracy, they recruited me to go deep undercover and gather evidence. Lisa felt a mixture of relief and anger as she processed the revelation. You could have told me. You could have given me some sign that you were alive. I wanted to, Sarah said, her voice heavy with regret, but the operation required complete isolation. Any contact with my former life could have compromised the mission and gotten you killed. The federal agents were already processing the scene, collecting evidence, and preparing to transport the prisoners. Lisa could see that this was just the beginning of a massive investigation that would reach into every level of the military and defense establishment. How many people were involved? Lisa asked. 37 confirmed conspirators across 6 military installations, Sarah replied, plus dozens of defense contractors and foreign buyers. It's the largest military corruption case in American history. Lisa watched as Harrison was led away in handcuffs, his career and reputation destroyed by his involvement in the conspiracy. She felt no satisfaction in his downfall, only sadness that someone she'd respected had chosen money over duty. As the investigation teams finished their work, Sarah pulled Lisa aside for a private conversation. The setting sun painted the desert in shades of gold and red, and for a moment, it felt like they were back in flight school, planning their futures together. The Air Force wants to reinstate me, Sarah said. Full rank, full benefits, a chance to return to normal duty. But there's another option. Lisa felt her heart sink as she realized what Sarah was about to say. Another Vector 11 mission. The Prometheus Group in Southeast Asia. They're using similar tactics to steal and sell military technology, but on an even larger scale. The real Vector 11 program needs someone with my experience to investigate them. Lisa looked at her friend, a woman who had sacrificed 9 years of her life to protect her country, who had given up her identity and her relationships to serve a mission that no one would ever acknowledge. What do you want to do? Lisa asked. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, her eyes focused on the horizon where the last light of day was fading into darkness. I want to come home, she said finally. I want to have a normal life, a normal career, normal relationships. But I also know that there are threats out there that only someone like me can handle. Lisa understood the weight of the decision Sarah was facing. She'd spent 9 years becoming someone else, learning to operate in the shadows, developing skills that couldn't be used in conventional military service. Whatever you decide, Lisa said, I'll support you. But remember that you've already given enough. You've already sacrificed more than anyone should have to. Sarah smiled, the same expression Lisa remembered from their days as young airmen with dreams of changing the world. Maybe, she said, but some fights are worth fighting, even if no one ever knows you fought them. As they walked back toward the helicopter that would take them back to the base, Lisa realized that her friend had become something more than a pilot. She'd become a guardian, someone who protected the country from threats that existed in the spaces between official acknowledgement and plausible deniability. Some people are born to serve in the light, Lisa thought, and some are born to serve in the shadows. The memorial wall at Desert Storm Air Base had been updated with a new plaque, though few people understood its significance. Next to Sarah Mitchell's name, now marked "Missing in Action" rather than "Killed in Action," was a simple inscription. Some serve in the light, others guard from the shadows. Lisa stood before the memorial on a crisp winter morning, no longer carrying the sealed envelope that had haunted her for 9 years. She'd finally opened it 6 months ago, finding inside a single photograph of the two of them from flight school, and a note that read, "If you're reading this, it means I found something worth dying for. Don't let them bury the truth with my body." She was right, Lisa thought. The truth was worth fighting for. The Meridian Defense Group investigation had resulted in 37 arrests and the recovery of millions of dollars in stolen military technology. The conspiracy had reached into the highest levels of the Pentagon, forcing a complete overhaul of defense contractor oversight and security protocols. But Sarah herself had vanished again, this time voluntarily. The Air Force had offered her full reinstatement with promotion to major, but she'd chosen instead to continue her work with the real Vector 11 program. Her last message to Lisa had been brief: Prometheus Group neutralized. New mission parameters received. Thank you for everything. Lisa now served as the base's liaison to the Office of Special Investigations, helping to implement the new security protocols that had emerged from the Meridian investigation. It wasn't the career she'd planned, but it was meaningful work that honored the sacrifice her friend had made. Some serve in the light, others guard from the shadows, she thought, repeating the inscription that had become her personal motto. As she turned to leave the memorial, Lisa noticed a new addition to the wall, a small metal plaque that hadn't been there the day before. It bore no name, just a call sign and a quote: "Phoenix, legends don't die, they just fly higher." Lisa smiled, understanding that somewhere in the world, Sarah Mitchell was still serving her country, still protecting people who would never know her name or understand her sacrifice. Some bonds transcend death, she thought, and some heroes are meant to remain legends. The sound of jet engines overhead made her look up where a formation of F-15EXs was conducting training exercises. As she watched, one aircraft broke formation and performed a perfect snap roll before rejoining the group, a signature Phoenix maneuver that could only mean one thing: